Okay, today I want to do a review on the Concept Green solar power generator. For people that are homesteading or just even not homesteading but live outside of town, especially this time of year, you know how it is. If the power is going to go out, it's going to go out outside of town, and it's going to take them a while longer to get to you to bring power back on, because they always concentrate on the areas that have the highest population. So rural areas are often left to last to get the power back on. And we've had that happen several occasions here. We live in Texas, but we have actually had snowstorms in April, and we had, at that time, we just had an all-electric home, and we had nothing but a fireplace that the whole family had to gather around to keep a little bit warm, because we came home and we were actually at a friend's house and it had started snowing so heavy we thought, well, we better get home, because it doesn't happen too often here in Texas. So we really just didn't want to be out on the road with a lot of people that probably don't know how to drive on snow. And so we were heading over the hill and could just see our house, and we noticed everything was black. There was not a single light on anywhere, and that's just very unusual. Always somebody has a porch light on, or you see a house light, because it was only like 6 or 7 o'clock. It was December, so again, well, no, it was April, I'm sorry. So it was still not staying light as late as it does in the summer, but still there should have been some lights on. After that, we were determined that we were not going to be in that situation again. We had some candles. At that time I had a couple of decorative hurricane lamps and had never even lit them, because I had literally just bought them as decoration. And some candles that I had hanging, some candle holders that were hanging on the wall, again, purely as decoration and, mood setting type things. So had never intended them for actual lighting. So we found that we had a lot of areas that were lacking in the case of an emergency, being that we are outside of town and we would be sometimes, going without power for just a little bit. I mean, it wasn't that long. It was maybe 2 days, I want to say. But again, it was very cold, it was snowing, and it was dark. So just a situation that we didn't have to be in had we been a little bit better prepared. So we had put some effort into it over the years since then, and this was many years ago. My eldest granddaughter at that time was a baby in a carrier still, and she's 7 now. So about 6.5 years ago, I'm going to say maybe. And we've come a long way since then. We now have hurricane lights that are, or lamps that are actually meant for using. We have lots of candles that we've made that are meant for exactly that, for lighting purposes. We have a wood-burning stove, as many of you know. So we have done a lot to prepare, but we were still said, just because it's an emergency, don't know if we really want to just be trying to read by candlelight or something. It kind of limits what you can do if you don't have really good lighting. That's where it came in, where we wanted to move into solar a little bit. And we're income challenged, as most families are. So solar was a big jump, and we just couldn't afford to dive in and do that, $10,000 system like some people do. So in steps some small scale solar. First, we had to learn what we were doing. As many of you know, we have a video out there, the Harbor Freight solar power kit. That was our very first solar power kit. It did not come with a battery, but it had the panels and the charge controller and stuff, and it helped us get our feet wet. It is not the best system out there that you can buy, obviously, but it is a system that will let you get your feet wet and let you learn, and it will power it. If you've got the right batteries, it will power. It's just not going to recharge those batteries that fast, because again, it's 45 watts. So but that was just, like I said, the little steps into it, and then we wanted to move on. So I wanted to we have a radio room, as we call it, a ham shack. So I wanted the ability to be able to power that room so that we could get information in the case of storms and weather at any time that we wanted it. So I wanted our radios to be able to stay up, and I wanted to be able to have lighting in there so we could see good. and we just kind of turned it into our little retreat room where we go into if the power goes out, because it has just about everything that we need in there. And that's where the little power center that I built, the solar powered generator that I built, came in. That was for the purpose of running our radios and some small lighting. You could charge stuff off of it. It's got a 35 amp hour battery in it. It's an AGM, so it's not going to run a whole lot for a really long time, but it'll run my battery, my radios for a good long time, as long as I'm using low power. If I bump that power up, obviously it's not going to last as long. And run some 5-watt LED lights also. So, and then depending on the panels that are hooked up to it at the time, will depend on how quickly it's going to recharge. So basically what we did, instead of going a full-blown solar system that would run us, more money than we could afford to put out in one time, we opted to go for like purpose-driven solar. And the next step in our purpose-driven solar was to have something that would be good for charging our small electronics, which I could use, again, the solar generator that I built for that, but I'd rather leave that dedicated to the radio. And since we were going purpose-driven, I was thinking about building another one that would, be purely for charging phones, running the lights and stuff like that. But then I came across, voila, the Green Concept solar powered generator. And it's really, first I was trying to read and get some information on it, and it's not real forthcoming on the battery in it or anything, which was a little worrisome to me, but it had really good reviews on it. So, and they were selling for like twice the price that I found it on Sportsman Guide on eBay. So I said, well, you know what, for that price, it's worth getting my feet wet and giving it a try. If it ends up being not worth it, well, lesson learned, and we'll make sure and give it a bad review. But we were not able to give it a bad review because it exceeded our expectations, actually. So I had received the new Sportsman Guide magazine, and it had this in there, and it was advertised as being $200 off, and you know how that is. A lot of times they'll say it's $200 off. Yeah, $200 off of MSRP, which meant it was never really worth that to start with. But I was reading it, I thought, well, it's really interesting, and it was $179. And I'm a member. I have a membership of Sportsman Guide, so I get the membership discount, which is like 10%, I think, or whatever. Well, then the next day, because I was thinking about it, I had it bookmarked for actually a couple of weeks, I think. And then the day after, I actually got online and checked it again and was, going, should I buy it? Should I buy it? And the next day they sent me an email that said, well, if I renew my membership, then I would get an additional percentage off my total order. And I was like, oh, well, that might just make it work. And, for people that don't want to, charge on a credit card a large amount, or, if you're doing it from your bank card or whatever, I don't know if I'd recommend that. But anyway, they do have what's called a 4-payment plan, a 4-pay plan or something like that, where you can break it into 4 payments if you choose to. Again, the price wasn't that much that, most people could go ahead and buy it, but it is hard sometimes to come up with an extra $150, $170 sometimes. So anyway, I got the extra discount. I went ahead and I renewed my membership because I knew, I was going to renew it anyway. So I went ahead and did it at that time. It was a little bit early. Got that extra discount. Got my membership taken care of while I was at it. And it was free shipping. And it came to a total of $152 for it. Okay? Now, if I was comparing this to the 45-watt solar kit from Harbor Freight, I would say this is the better buy. Why? Because it is complete. It has everything that you need already with it. Again, you have a little more options with the Harbor Freight set, simply because you can add the battery that you want to it. But on the Concept Green solar generator, you have an option of putting an additional external battery on it. So you could hook an additional battery to this if that's what you chose to do. You could buy another AGM battery, and you've got your basic solar generator already made for you, and it's got some nice options that actually came with it. So for $152 shipped to my door, and pretty quickly I must say too, it came with a 40-watt solar panel, which I will show you because I was very impressed with the solar panel. I will say kudos. It is not an amorphous panel like the Harbor Freight ones are. It's a poly panel, and I'll have to look up because I don't remember exactly what I call them poly panels. But anyway, so it is not an amorphous panel. It's a better panel. It came with the 12-volt charger, which you'll see here. Came with a little inverter, and it says that it is actually geared towards or ideal for electronics that are 60 watt and appliances that are 60 watts or less. This is a 65 watt inverter, and it has a USB port and a regular plug-in port, and this is your 110 charger. Say you have several days of really poor sun and your battery is running low, but you do have power in your house or a generator or whatever, then you can go ahead and plug in the 110 and charge it for the, or 120. I'm not good with that kind of stuff. So this is like solar for dummies. And then it came with a little bag of connectors. These are really nice. It actually, look, how often do you find an iPhone connector with anything? It came with an iPhone connector, a USB connector, all these different little mini USBs that can work with different phones and iPads and whatnot. So that was really nice. And I'll tell you another thing. One of the things that kind of said a little bit of attention to detail that you don't find with the Harbor Freight stuff is on the chargers, every one of them had little Velcro straps. And I know that's such a stupid little thing, but it keeps everything neat and tidy, and usually you have to run out and buy these, or you use some zip ties or something. Well, zip ties aren't convenient. You'd need Velcro straps. But, you know, they came with them on everything, so I thought that was really awesome. And then for your little connectors, it came with this little bag, so all your little connectors fit right in there. So, again, little minor thing, but attention to detail, and that's something kind of impressive for a system that's this cheap. Okay, it came with also a 2-watt light bulb. Yeah, and it came with this nice 2-watt light bulb, which is really nice. I mean, 2 watts. I used it over. We took it to the cabin, and I tested the system for several weeks before I did a video on it because I really wanted to make sure that, you know, it was something that'd be even worth talking about. But this little light bulb, or little light, I actually plugged it in and put it over my kitchen area at the cabin, and it was perfect. And then we'd move it and we'd hook it up underneath the bed and stuff. And we put the LED lighting in there, but it just has this plug, and you can plug it directly into the solar generator. It has light plugs, and I'll show you real quick how everything hooks in. It's got an on-off switch right here. It's got a built-in 20-amp fuse right here. 3 USB ports right here, so very nice. There's your DC output, 2 amps there, 2 amps there. There is for your external battery connection. This is where you can put anything up to 6 amps, plug in 12 volts, and this of course is where you charge. So it's and it does tell you that once the initial charge is done to turn it on and leave it on. It tells you not to turn it off. But anyway, so it is really nice, and I have not charged it since, well, going on 3 weeks now. So now I just plugged it in today because the light did turn on. Okay, I hadn't charged it in roughly 3 weeks. And it had just turned orange today, so that's not too bad. And orange does not mean that it's empty or dead, because you would get a red light if that was it. Orange is just telling you that it's at the point where it should be charged. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll plug in the little light so you can see how nice it works. And there you go. How easy is that? And it's got a really, really long cord, as if you can see this. I mean, I think it's got to be at least, I would say at least 10 feet. I can probably check that out for certain. Well, I take that back. It is roughly 20 feet long. So that's a really nice cord that you can run to where you need it. Now, are there any downsides to the green concept or concept green solar power generator? Well, there is a little bit. And the only thing that I found as a drawback on this system, which is easily fixed, because I like everything that kind of works together. I like the same connectors, which is why I did my solar generator with the Anderson pole connector. So everything could be plug and play and everything would have the same ends. My fans, my lights, so on. And that's the way I would prefer this one to be. But the connector that goes from the solar panel into the solar generator is not an SAE or SEA or, yeah. It is made specifically to fit this solar generator. But that is not a big deal, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to, okay, I had to switch to that iPhone because the internal memory on my camera was all used up. So what I was saying was I plan on making a cut in this wire and installing Anderson pole connectors on either side. So then I will be able to use that solar panel also to charge my my homemade solar power generator and this one. Again, I prefer to be everything to be plug and play, and that way the panel can be used for multiple purposes. Because if this is charged, this the green concept generator is charged, then why drag around several panels when I could have one 40-watt panel to charge both of them? I can have the other one with me, but maybe I don't need to drag them all out or unpack it or whatever. Again, just I like to have options, and for when it comes to emergency lighting, this is a really great little system, because like I said, you could actually plug in, if you wanted to, you could do 4 of those little lights, and they don't have to just be 2 amp, and you can plug in, again, USB. If I change the connector to some Anderson pole connectors, it will give me options to run my other lights in there. And I really like the idea that you can add an external battery to this. That is really great. And I'm thinking, you know, the 20 amp hour battery, once it's met the end of its life, well, I'm sure there's a way to open this and everything in it will still be usable. Maybe replace the battery or just hook an external battery to it. But again, lots of options there. So really nice little system. So let's go look at the solar panel real quick. So here's the solar panel. It's a 40 watt, 20 watt each side. It folds in half. It is made surprisingly sturdy. Like I said, I was really surprised at the quality that the set was, the green concept, for the price. It's got a little metal latch, and the cord just folds up in the back. And the only downside, I'm sorry about walking around out here, like I said, I don't have a tripod for the iPhone. The only downside to this is that when it folds with the solar panel, the glass to the outside. I see why they did that, because then the cord and stuff stores in the back. But I really wish there was, you know, a way that they could have done that differently. Because I always worry if I'm taking the panels. But if you're staying around the house and they're just primarily for your home, that's not even an issue. But if you want to take it, you know, camping with you or traveling or whatever, then it is a little bit of an issue. And what I do is it fits nicely in a standard pillowcase. So I just fold it up and I put a little standard pillowcase over it when we're going somewhere, just to keep it, and they're made tough. These things, are made pretty tough. So you're not really going to have to worry about a whole lot of damage. But, when you're driving down the road in a truck, you just never know. So I just like to give it. And then I have some styrofoam that I stick inside that just helps keep it safe. But that would be the only downside that I've seen to this panel. So, kudos that they made such and I do understand it's made in China. And, most of the solar panels are, unfortunately. This little set is, well, I believe, if I understood correctly, the solar cells themselves are actually made in Germany, assembled in China type of thing. But I think the kit itself as a whole is from China. But, hey, kudos again. I think it's a pretty good system for what it is. And the Harbor Freight system for a beginning set has its place. It gives you a little more options, a bigger battery. You can run a little bit more, a little bit longer type of thing. But if you're looking for lighting and cell phone charging, a little, dedicated system, I mean, this is awesome. I really have to say it is an awesome little set. And even at $179, if you can get it with the free shipping, really awesome. So you might want to check that out. Concept Green, and it's a solar power center is what it's called, and it's at sportsmanguide.com. I'll put the links in the description.